What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 19 of the Elephant Wire Podcast, the show we break down song lyrics and don't play you a damn second of the song because major labels are thieving babies that would sue us up the ass. This week's episode, we're going to be dissecting the song Pretty Pimpin' by Kurt Vile. Let's fucking get some.
Welcome to the Elephant Wire Podcast. Music, drugs, laughter, lyrics.
Somebody needs to do a remix of our theme song. That'd be super dope. Yeah, if anyone wants to do a remix of the theme song, go for it. Fuck, we'll put it on an episode. What's up, everybody? Jake Wisner here, host of the Elephant Wire Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Episode 19. One episode to go for season 1. I am super stoked to get through this one. Not get through it, get into it. That makes more sense. I'm sad to get through it because this is going to be a lot of fun. Kurt Vile, great guy, and Pretty Pimpin', absolutely his most popular song. So if you've heard of Kurt Vile, it's probably because you've heard this song. So this is, like I said, this is, one more episode to go in season 1. This has been way too much fun so far this season, and I cannot wait to see where the podcast goes from here. I've met an insane amount of awesome people from literally all over the world. I've done my best to introduce them to you and give them their dues and pay them credit and everything. And, once again, we got another local band this episode as well, so we'll get to that in a minute. But at the time being, let's talk about Kurt Vile. What a dude. And we're going to start with this because this is just going to lay down the base for everything we learn and everything we hear come out of his mouth and everything we know of him from here. The guy is the third of 10 children. And he's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 2 factoids right in a row that those are going to set the tone for what we know of Kurt Vile. Who is Kurt Vile? Oh, he's the third of 10 kids and he's from Philly. Oh, got it. If that doesn't just answer most of the questions right off the bat, I don't know what else can. Now, if you haven't heard of Kurt Vile, if you're not familiar with him, he is probably he's definitely more well known for his solo career, as Kurt Vile and his band is called the Violators, which the play on words is just fantastic. I love that that opportunity just sort of presented itself. That's fantastic. But he's mostly known for his solo project. However, he began his music career at around the age of 17, and he was making almost like lo-fi type songs and more chill kind of ambient stuff. However, in 2003, he joined up with Adam Grandiseel and the band The War on Drugs. Kurt Vile played with Adam. Adam had been living in Oakland, California, and he moved to Philadelphia. Kurt had been living in Boston. He moved home to Philadelphia. And when Adam Grandiseel got there, Kurt was one of the first people he met whenever he got to Philadelphia. They were both at the time super geeking out on Bob Dylan, which is fantastic. I love, any musicians out there that are listening, it's so funny whenever we look back at times in our lives as musicians where we can pinpoint who we were super into at that one time. And literally when Adam and Kurt met each other and started the band The War on Drugs, they were both super into Bob Dylan at the time. And it's kind of funny, like their first albums, kind of have that vibe. But if you haven't listened to The War on Drugs before, they're absolute fantastic band. You should check them out. Their most famous song is definitely Red Eyes that comes off of their album Lost in a Dream. The newest album that came out by The War on Drugs is an absolutely fantastic album called A Deeper Understanding. That came out, I believe, last year or maybe this year. Don't quote me on that. I'm just remembering now that I just recently listened to War on Drugs' newest album, and it was really good. But yeah, there were a couple songs on that one. I think Pain, was one of them that I was really fucking into. And then there was another song. Yeah, Hold On. That was the name of that song. I really like those two songs off the War on Drugs new album. But this episode is not about the War on Drugs. However, I am going to leave you with a little tidbit, and it's that Adam almost named the band the Rigatoni Danzas, which, that would have been a cool name, but it wouldn't have had the same oomph that the War on Drugs had. So that's a little fun fact for you there. But at one point, around 2005, Kurt was playing lead guitar for Adam in the War on Drugs, and Adam was playing lead guitar for Kurt in his band, The Violators. So they were both in a band with each other, for each other, about... It got a little convoluted, and they ended up parting ways about 2007, obviously very amicably. And the reason being is they're both basically just too independent for the music that they write and that they want to make, and they're also too fucking ambitious for their own projects. So they straight up didn't have time to play guitar for their buddy's band. Is kind of the way it worked out. But enough about the War on Drugs. Let's get into Kurt Vile. Like I said, he's from Philly. Shout out, cheer up, Dusty. Great guys out there in Philadelphia. But being from Philly, right off the bat that Kurt brings a certain amount of grit to everything that he does. There's something about people from Philly. They don't mix words. They fucking work hard. They love their birds, which is their football team. They love the birds. Go Birds. They're all about it. But like I said, there's just something about people from Philly, especially a musician, that what they're bringing to the table, this element of transparency, this element of grit, like I said, it gave Kurt almost like a leg up on the pile as he went forward with his music career. In his early days, Kurt had wanted a guitar for most of his life. And so what did his parents do when he was 14? They got him a banjo. Just makes sense. And I found an interview where he was telling the story. He said, I always wanted a guitar most of all, but my dad got me a banjo when I was 14. So I played it like a guitar. Playing banjo whenever you wanted a guitar, it's not the most one might say the most conventional way to learn how to play guitar. But as we look at Kurt Vile's career, especially the song that we're talking about today, Kurt Vile's way of going about finger picking or finger plucking, however you want to say it. I'm sure there's some luthier out there that would be a stickler on the term. So whichever one it is, let's go with that one. Finger picking, finger plucking. Yeah. It obviously made a giant impact on the way he plays guitar, a 6-string guitar, the way he goes about finger plucking. And someone actually, in talking to him about his early days of whenever he first started making music and recording music and writing music, an interview that I read of his, he said, that had been there from the start. And the question that had been presented to him was about his very DIY way of going about making music. Whether that be in the recording process, whether that be in the music video process, whatever it may be, booking a tour, playing a show, putting his band together, all of those elements, Kurt has to have complete control. He has to be, he has to have a hold of the reins in every aspect. And like we were talking about earlier with him and Adam, they're both very much that way, that whenever they, as their solo projects began to get bigger and bigger, they did not have the time necessary to give to their buddy's band. They owed it to their friend that, like, you know what, you need to get someone actually in here that, like, this is all they fucking do, because I have too much going on over here with my thing. But talking about like the early days of recording, I got a quote here from Kurt. He says, I had a friend and his older brothers recorded me because they were recording his band. So right away, without knowing, the home recording DIY thing was always around me. I'd record myself on a shitty tape recorder, and then CDRs came along. And so he starts talking about, how he went about recording in those early days. And he even puts down a timeline from 17 to 27. That's whenever he was really just doing everything entirely himself. And then from about age 28 to age 38, which is our present day, that's whenever he's been in the era of, labels and, a record label putting out his music and getting him into the recording studio. However, he does end the entire quote by saying, "But I'm still doing things my way." And we like that here at the Elephant Wire podcast. We literally, last episode about Sarah Bareilles, I'm sure if you listen to that entire episode, you probably got tired of me halfway through just piling on record labels. But at the same, that's Sarah wrote the song about that. We didn't have a choice. So we love things like this when Kurt says, "But I'm still doing things my way." But let's talk about a little bit about his band and what he's got going on now. Like I said, his band is called The Violators. He's got Jesse Turbovich, I believe is his name, who plays bass and guitar and saxophone. He's got Rob Losco playing some guitar and bass, and then Kyle Spence plays drums, and that is The Violators. He's had a few different people filter in and out, a couple changes here and there, but the three guys he's got now, they've been there for the most time, and they're the current members. He has also been on Matador Records since 2009, and that's where he is today, still on Matador Records. Kurt has really made a name for himself, not just in the pop culture community, as far as his songs making it on the charts, especially this song that fucking flew up the charts whenever it came out. Just fart in my hands here on accident. Figured I'd mix it up, I guess. I don't know. Especially whenever I just hold him right next to the microphone. But he's like I said, he's not only made a name for himself in the pop culture community, but he has also made a name for himself among other musicians and highly touted musicians. He's had the opportunity. He's gone on tour with Thurston Moore of Sonic Youth and his solo project that he has going on. He's gone on tour with Jay Mascis of Dinosaur Jr. And then he's also gone, Neil Young took him out on tour as well. So he has had the opportunity to not only present his music and present himself to these audiences that are very steeped in like legit rock roots. Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr., and Neil Young, like those are some foundationary for sure. But the song we're talking about today, it comes off the album Believe I'm Going Down, and it came out in September of 2015, September 25th, actually, of 2015. Kurt was talking about this album at one point, and he said, "It's all over the place. Everything you can imagine I've done. That's where I'm at now. That I can sort of tap into every world and make it cohesive." And what he means by that, just you completely pull it out of context, it might sound almost a little boastful. But what he honestly means is that at this stage, when he released this album in 2015, because he's released more music since, what he meant is at this stage in his music career, that was who he wanted to be. That was what he wanted to do. He wanted to tap into almost kind of every era of the music that he'd been making since he was 17 years old. And he wanted to kind of make this cohesive, all-together cornucopia, if you will, of an album. And when you listen to the album front to back, you can pick up on that. You can pick up on little nuances of past albums, of War on Drugs albums, of different things that he's done. And then especially with a song like Pretty Pimpin', you hear that banjo root that he has, that grounding of learning to play a stringed instrument, and the way that he goes about finger plucking. And one funny thing that I wanted to bring up is whenever I was looking, I was just reading different interviews and watching different things. At one point, Kurt actually he cites Randy Newman as one of his lyrical influences when he is writing music. And I found that really funny because I have always wanted to make some type of parody video of Randy Newman singing the Beatles, because I think it would be fucking hilarious to hear Randy Newman sing "Strawberry Fields Forever." I don't know. That's always cracked my ass up. If it doesn't crack you up, I'm sorry, but I've always thought that was fucking hilarious. Randy Newman singing the Beatles. Hey, Jude. That kind of shtick. But the song we're talking about today is track 1 of 12. Like I said, off of the album Believe I'm Going Down. It is 4 minutes 59 seconds. So the intro is that finger pluck guitar that I was talking about, and it's just very easy drums. It's just the kick. And then when the verse comes in, it's that same finger pluck. There's no defined intro. What we have is the drums then add just a touch more. I believe they had the snare, is where the drums go from there. And the song just layers from there. The way the verses, the pre-chorus, chorus, breakdowns, the way things go through, we're just adding layers. And then when we get into different breakdowns and things, the guitar gets a little more distorted, especially around like 2 minutes into the song. And then we also get some lead guitar as well in a couple of the breakdowns. The chorus-wise, we have Kurt singing a backup of himself. He's kind of filling in the void of vocals there, singing falsetto background vocal. And then we also have some keys, or what I always referred to in like the mixing and writing process. I always refer to them as like an air synth that kind of just like fills some space and adds some delicate like presence to the song that we get also in the chorus whenever we get to that. This is an absolutely fantastic song. The lyrics are awesome. We've got a lot to dissect, so we better get right at it. I woke up this morning and didn't recognize the man in the mirror. Then I laughed and said, "Oh, silly me, that's just me." Then I proceeded to brush some stranger's teeth, but they were my teeth, and I was weightless, just quivering like some leaf come in the window of a restroom. I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean, but it was a Monday. No, a Tuesday. No, a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday came around and I said, "Who's this stupid clown blocking the bathroom sink?" All he ever wanted was to be someone in life that was just like, "All I want is to just have fun and live my life like a son of a gun. I could be 1,000 miles away, but still mean what I say." And I woke up one morning and didn't recognize the man in the mirror. And I laughed and I said, "Oh, silly me, that's just me." Then I proceeded to not comb some stranger's hair. Never was my style. But I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean, because it was a Monday. No, a Tuesday. No, a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday came around and I said, "Who's this stupid clown blocking the bathroom sink?" But he was sporting all my clothes. I gotta say, pretty pimpin'. All he ever wanted was to be a man. But he was always a little too cute to be admitted under marbles lost. He was always 1,000 miles away, while still standing in front of your face. Then he woke up this morning, didn't recognize the boy in the mirror, then laughed and said, "Oh, silly me, that's just me." Then I proceeded to brush some stranger's teeth, but they were my teeth, and I was weightless, just quivering like some leaf come in the window of the restroom. And I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean, because it was a Monday. No, a Tuesday. No, a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday came around and I said, "Who's this stupid clown blocking the bathroom sink?" But he was sporting all my clothes. I gotta say, pretty pimpin'. I woke up this morning, didn't recognize the boy in the mirror. All right. We have got a lot to dissect here. So before we go any further, we need to introduce the 3 different people in this song. We have 3 different entities. We have the narrator, we have the character, and then we have the stranger. Now, the fun part is they're all the same person. However, just to be able to understand the song a little easier, we have all 3 of these people, the narrator, the character, and the stranger. So, Let's get into it. I woke up this morning, didn't recognize the man in the mirror. Right off the bat, obviously we have a case of mistaken identity, if you will. And as the song goes on, the character, one of our people in the song of the three, as the song goes on, the character will pivot back and forth between who he believes he is and who he was looking at and who he wants to be. And this is the conundrum that he has the entire song. He continues on and saying, "Then I laughed and I said, 'Oh, silly me, that's just me.' I didn't even recognize myself." However, at the same time, after even recognizing, "Oh, that's me," he says, "Then I proceeded to brush some stranger's teeth, but they were my teeth." And even upon realizing that it is himself, he still feels disconnected from his body that he sees in the mirror. There's still some type of disconnect because he realizes in that moment, okay, that's me. But then he goes about brushing some stranger's teeth. Like he doesn't remember. He's just not picking up on who this is. He knows that he's supposed to think it's him or it should be him. And we keep going, and I was weightless, just quivering like some leaf come in the window of a restroom. Now, when he says I was weightless, the weightlessness could be in reference to fear. It could be in reference to weakness, insecurity. It could be a combination of all of them. Let's not rule that out. But the feeling that he has is not even present inside his own body. That he's not even present in his body. And more like the feeling of being out of, more like he's in his body, but he is out of control of his body with a POV camera almost. He sees the view, he looks in the mirror, he sees a stranger, oh wait, that's me. But upon any physical touch, anything that goes from there, it's foreign, it's strange, it's weird. And I was weightless, just quivering like some leaf. It's caused this weakness, this insecurity, this fear that has come over him. And we get in the first pre-chorus, I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean. Now, it's my opinion here that this is now our narrator. Our narrators come in, and the narrator, as the song keeps going, the narrator gets cut off. The narrator is never allowed to actually finish his thought. So the narrator says, I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean. And it's almost like the narrator here is about to let us know the lesson to be learned. However, the narrator doesn't know what the lesson is supposed to be. He wants to help us. But this is the only line we get from him. I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean. I don't know. And then our character comes right back. But it was a Monday. No, a Tuesday. No, a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's so detached from himself that he has lost all track of time. We could honestly, in the research that I was doing about this, I did end up seeing something that was talking about, we could go as far as to say that this may be a case of what would be referred to as depersonalization disorder, where people that suffer from this, they lose all track of time, they feel separated from their own body, they see their own body as foreign when they look in the mirror. They have no real touch with the world in what we would refer to as reality. They almost feel imprisoned in their body, and not imprisoned in their body in the way that someone that may have like something to the effect of body dysmorphia or something of that nature. More so in the sense that they feel that they are inside someone else's body. That this isn't the body that they were supposed to have. They feel, and not in the sense that born a woman, feel like a man, vice versa. This is not something of the LGBTQ community. This is what we're talking about here is their conscience, their conscious mind, and their physical body completely separating from each other. They are almost at war with one another, and it causes them to be completely out of space. Now, we could go as far as to say that Kurt Weill is writing, some dialogue about this exact thing. However, that is not so much my frame of reference. That's not so much my take on this. He keeps going and he says, then Saturday came around and I said, who's this stupid clown blocking the bathroom sink? Oftentimes when we feel insecure, when we feel unsure, about things, we go straight to a defensive approach, and almost defensive in the sense of, above and beyond the defensive. Like, no, who's this stupid clown? Also, calling someone a stupid clown is actually a really good diss. Because when you really think about it, who's this clown? One, you're calling someone a clown, and like clowns are really fucking gross and weird. Or also two, they're obviously not even one of the better known clowns, because you're saying who's this clown? So it's kind of a both sides of it. You're calling someone a clown, and if they are a clown, I don't even know who this fucking clown is. It's a great diss. You just pepper that one in your daily dialogue, calling people a clown. Who's this clown? It's a good one. It's a good one. I'll tell you from experience. It's a great one. All audiences. We get into our first chorus, and he says, all he ever all he ever wanted was to be someone in life that was just like. Now, once again, our narrator has been cut off again. And it's almost as if he actually has figured out where his train of thought was going. All he ever wanted was to be someone in life that was just like. He's taken back over. He's trying to give us some background info, and then he's cut off. And he said, and we have our character again that says, "All I want is to just have fun, live my life like a son of a gun." Our character has very simple desires in life. He wants to have fun, live like a son of a gun. However, he does continue, and he actually makes it a little bit more, adds a little more weight to his actual desire, because he says, I could be 1,000 miles away, but still mean what I say. And this is something interesting when we start to really break down what this could mean. It could, in the sense of checking out of a conversation, whether it be on purpose, whether it be happenstance, it could be, pulling back from a relationship, once again, whether it be on purpose or whether it be accidentally. I could be 1,000 miles away, but still mean what I say. There's still a sense of sincerity to you. And it's a very interesting thought process. Be 1,000 miles away, still mean what you say. It's very interesting. Now, we could also take this another way. Long distance relationship. He's 1,000 miles away, and when he says "I love you," he means it. But let's go with the first one, because that actually makes more sense for the cohesiveness of this song. Because when we get into verse 2, I woke up one morning, didn't recognize the man in the mirror, laughed, said silly me. Even though he logically recognized that, it's just me, he continues to have this strange experience where he sees himself as a stranger. Some individuals, like we were talking about before, someone that may be experiencing depersonalization disorder, they can actually report out of body experiences, or feeling, they feel like they're in a dream watching themselves in a movie. The only time I've ever had that experience was whenever I robo-tripped on accident, and all of a sudden I was up in the corner of my apartment watching myself sit on my couch, and I was like, go to the bathroom. And then I stood up, and I was like, holy shit. And I started freaking out, and I watched myself run to the bathroom, and then I started vomiting. If you ever vomited a bottle of Robitussin, it's not very fun. But robo-tripping can be fun. I don't know. Think it over. I'm not saying go buy yourself a bottle, because you'll end up on a list nowadays, but, just think it over. But he continues on in saying, then I proceeded to not comb Jesus Christ. Then I proceeded to not comb some stranger's hair. Never was my style. So the subtle difference between the first verse and the second verse, because there's a lot of repeating in this song. However, there's these subtle differences that show either growth or, kind of falling back off of what we had already learned. The subtle difference here is, it ends up actually being a big difference whenever we take a close look, because in our first verse, he recognizes while he's brushing a stranger's teeth that they were his. Here, we see he does not realize that he is the one in the mirror. However, he makes a personal preference decision for the stranger. So the character looks in the mirror, does not recognize himself. However, he then decides, I'm not going to brush his hair. Wasn't my style. And then once again, we go into the pre-chorus. We have our narrator that chimes in and once again reminding us that there's a lesson to be learned, but he has no fucking clue what it is. I couldn't tell you what the hell it was supposed to mean. Thank you, narrator. You've been so helpful. And our character comes back in once again because it was a Monday, Tuesday, goes through, lists through who's this stupid clown blocking the bathroom sink. However, in this chorus, we end it with, but he was sporting all my clothes. I gotta say, pretty pimpin'. Now, once again, we have a subtle difference because at the end of the second verse, he follows suit again. He sees the stranger wearing his clothes and decides to compliment him. Saying he looks pretty pimpin', which as the namesake. And I find this really funny that like as the song has been progressing on, he's almost drifting further and further away from his grasp on reality because he no longer recognizes himself in the mirror. He no longer recognizes his own body to the point that when he sees himself standing there, he then compliments the clothes that the stranger is wearing. And we keep going. All he ever wanted was to be a man, but he was always cut off again. Our narrator at no point in this entire song has actually had the opportunity to finish a thought. And when he is given the opportunity, doesn't have a thought to actually finish. So the narrator has been pretty fucking pointless to this point. And this is also the last time the narrator will use the term man, which is very interesting as we go from here. Because all the rest of the song from here on out, he is now a boy. And this absolutely plays into the regression that we're looking at. From here on out, which, as he's lost more and more attachment from himself, clearly he's also lost more and more of his attachment on adulthood in general, or, which could go 1,000 different ways of losing his grasp on being a man, whatever that can entail. Whenever I think of what it means to be a man, it means to take care of the people around you, to love the people around you, to be honest. That's what it means to be a man. Anyone could be a man, really. I could not be a woman in any facet because being a woman is significantly harder and they're way stronger and they actually have goals and reach them. So being a man is actually really, especially a white man, it's incredibly fucking easy. But here we see our character is even struggling with that. He's lost his ability to do that. He's losing his grasp on adulthood. And he keeps going, a little too cute to be admitted under marbles lost. He was always 1,000 miles away while still standing in front of your face. And what we see here is our character has his shit together enough in the eyes of those around him that he would never be assumed crazy. Too cute to be admitted. Admitted, he uses the term losing your marbles. And losing your marbles, and we could go back to, episode 3, I believe. Yes, episode 3 of this season, when we did Same Drugs by Chance the Rapper, which has a lot of references to the movie Hook. Here we go, losing your marbles. That it's a term for going crazy. So he's a little too cute to be admitted for being crazy. He has just enough of his shit together, and he has just enough going for him that nobody is actually going to take it upon themselves to reach out and be like, hey, we need to actually sit down and we need to talk about this. Something's going on with you. And we get into verse 3, and he says, then he woke up this morning, didn't recognize the boy in the mirror. So I believe that we could say that there is a fourth character, because I don't believe that this is the character talking, and I don't believe that this is the narrator talking. Instead, I think it shows a progression of he's that disassociated. So in a manner of speaking, yes, this is our character talking. He woke up this morning, didn't recognize the boy in the mirror. And like I said, I mean, this shows how far he's gone from being completely disassociated with his own body. And he keeps going, then laughed and said, oh, silly me, that's just me. Then I proceeded to brush some stranger's teeth. So once again, I mean, he's drifting back and forth, and the realization of who he is, the loss of who he is. And he keeps going, but they were my teeth, and I was weightless. We're back to where the song originally was at the beginning. However, he's drifted further and further and further. Just quivering like some leaf come in the window of a restroom. And then we get into the final pre-chorus here, and we have our narrator talking and talking. Just who's this stupid clown in the bathroom saying it finishes out almost exactly the way that it began, but the outro has a repeating line of "I woke up this morning, didn't recognize the boy in the mirror," and that's where Kurt leaves us. It repeats, 8, 10 times, something of that nature, and that's where Kurt leaves us. I woke up this morning, didn't recognize the boy in the mirror. And as we've gone all the way through this, is there a legitimate lesson to be learned that we can put into our daily life? Possibly, something to the effect of having a grasp on reality and what that can honestly mean, because we only have one side of this story. Now, yes, we do have 3 characters telling this story, well, 2 telling the story, a third included. But at the same time, we see in lines like whenever he says, "Too cute to be admitted for losing your marbles." Obviously, he is still in society. He still has friends. He still has, possibly a job. All of these things, yes, he is starting to lose his grasp on adulthood, and things are changing for him. But what is his whole desire to begin with? What is the only thing he's ever wanted? All I want is to just have fun and live my life like a son of a gun. And then he also just wants to be taken seriously. He wants to be able to be, as he is, completely checked out of reality. But when he says something, he means it. There's sincerity there. And like I said, could we get real in depth and try to dig out as much moral as possible? Yeah, we could. Or we could kind of take this at face value and just say to ourselves, sometimes it's okay to kind of check out of reality, to look at yourself in the mirror and not even recognize yourself. Do you have to recognize yourself every time you look in the mirror? Fuck it. It is what it is. I love this song. It's a fantastic jam. And one of the other interviews that I was reading was whenever Kurt was talking about when he originally wrote this song. He knew right off the bat whenever he wrote the guitar riff, the main guitar riff that goes through the whole song. He knew right off the bat how catchy it was, and he went, "I owe it service to actually write a good song over the top of this. Every other facet of this song needs to match how baller the guitar part that I just wrote was," and I love that. That's absolutely awesome. And like we were talking about at the very beginning, the DIY take on music that he's always had, that raw, true, gritty feel that he brings to things. And it is funny that we keep using the term gritty and grit because the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, his name is Gritty. And if you don't know of him, you should look him up because he's fucking hilarious. And he has nothing to do with sports, but also everything to do with Philadelphia sports. It's very interesting. I'm into it. At any rate, it's about that time when we do my favorite portion of the podcast, which is the local band Spotlight. And this week we have a band called Like Before from Oklahoma City. These guys are fantastic. We got Zach, Alex, and Turner, and Bradley. We got 4 boys from Oklahoma City. When I got in touch with them and said, "Hey, what are you guys all about?" This is the response I got back, and I absolutely love it. In 2019, Like Before emerged into the music scene with one goal in mind: to create music they are passionate about and to share it with as many people as possible. And honestly, as a musician, that should be the 2 biggest goals to have, is to make music and to share your music. And as long as you hold true to those 2 things, you should be just fine. Now, it's a little tougher to become a billionaire making music with those being your 2 goals, but at the end of your life, you'll still have your credibility, and you'll still have, you'll be able to lay your head on your pillow and know that you made good music and you did it for the right reasons. So that's good times. But like I said, we got Zach Robertson, Alex Nemec, Turner Allen and Bradley Henderson spent their first year together playing music and gaining access to bigger and better venues, all the while increasing a fan base that loved the music they create. Like Before's music draws influences from bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Black Keys, as well as pulling classic tones like ELO and the Rolling Stones. You got to have a wide base. You got to spread it out. You got to pull from everybody. I like that. It's very good. Like Before has enjoyed many opportunities, everything from playing at the Norman Music Festival to being a part of shows with local and touring bands. Currently, they have just completed their 5-song EP, which is sure to bring thrill to their current and future fans as well as help them further their music career goals. I fucking love it. Attaboy on for Like Before. We love these guys. We're going to add one of their songs. I cannot remember for the life of me right now, and I'm so sorry, boys. I cannot remember for the life of me right now what the song is that we have added to the local bands that don't suck. I'm just going to look it up right now while I'm sitting here and still pumping their tires because these guys are absolutely fantastic. The song we added was Ocean Tears. That's what it was. Ocean Tears is the song we've added to our playlist, Local Bands That Don't Suck. It's a fantastic jam. Make sure to check it out. Support local music, guys. I say it every week, and I still mean it. Support local music. Musicians need our help more than ever. Absolutely. Throw on a mask. Go see local music. When your friend's local band, when they make a post, like it, comment it, save it. I mean, that's how the algorithm works. And the more that we do those things, the more people are going to see their posts. It's just how it works. And I'll make the same request of you for the Elephant Wire. You know, we have an Instagram, we got a Facebook, we got all of it. Give us a like on Instagram, comment on our shit. When you see something funny, make fun of us. I posted it before, but one of the funniest things that's ever happened on this podcast is whenever someone left a review on Apple Podcast and they called me a douche canoe, and I think I'm gonna get it framed. I really do. It's literally one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me. So support local music. If you like what we do here at the Elephant Wire, feel free to support us too, whether monetarily or literally just telling your friends, hey, there's this music podcast. You should check it out. But that's all we got today. As always, fuck the man. Hail Satan. Hug your mom. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.